You wanted to know my thoughts? Well, here they are. That movie is a shit show. What you think you see, what you think you hear, that's what it's about. It's all theater of the mind. No, it's garbage. It's garbage. Mood and atmosphere. Now that I really like. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see. Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. Okay, let's jump right into it. My first official video back since I was in LA for about a week or so, I guess. Anyway, so yes, news dropped just yesterday, I believe, as of shooting this video, that the Kraven estate, the Wes Craven estate, that is now hearing pitches and is open to hearing ideas for not only a feature film on how to get Freddy Krueger back on the big screen, but also pitches for potentially an HBO MAX series in regards to Freddy Krueger. Now, naturally, this is of interest to me and of interest to other people I am connected to in regards to Dylan's New Nightmare. Now, for those of you that still may not know what Dylan's New Nightmare is, because some of you may not everybody watches every video I do, nor would I expect them to. Very quickly now, I have been tapped to play Freddy Krueger in a Elm Street Fan film, but not just any Elm Street Fan film. It is a fan film that is called Dylan's New Nightmare, and it is a unofficial sequel. It's a short film now. It's an unofficial sequel to Wes Craven's New Nightmare from 1994, and it follows Dylan Porter 25 years later. Dylan Porter, of course, played by Miko Hughes in the original film. He was only, 10 or 11 in that movie, if that. Maybe 8. And so he's going to be reprising his role in this fan film. Miko Hughes is back. And I've been tapped to play Freddy Krueger, and it's being produced by Vincent DeSante, of course, who is the writer, director, and producer and star of Never Hike Alone, which is not only one of the greatest Friday the 13th fan films ever made, but one of the greatest fan films ever made, period. The level of production value is outstanding. I mean, everybody seems to like that film. Well, that is the level of production value that they are aiming for with Dylan's New Nightmare. And also involved, of course, is Cecil Laird of the Horror Show YouTube channel. He is the writer and director and producer of the film. And Renee Rivas is the director of photography on the film as well. And Nora Hewitt, who won season 9 of Face Off, who is a professional special effects makeup artist in Hollywood. She is doing all of the effects. She did my live cast just last week when I was out there because we are going full on prosthetic makeup. This isn't a Freddy Krueger mask. This is prosthetic makeup, totally Robert Englund style. I have to sit in a chair for 3 to 4 hours to get that sucker on. That is what they're going to do. So this is really exciting, but they can't do it without your help. And so the Indiegogo campaign is in the description. Take a look at the perks. The perks are outstanding. Don't just glaze over them. Have a real look, read everything that's there, click on them, find out what you get. Because I see them and I'm like, as a fan, I'm like, oh, that's so good. Oh, that's such a good idea. Oh, that's totally worth it. And I'm not just saying that. You guys know me. If I thought something, I just wouldn't say anything. It's good shit. And but in order to be able to deliver that level of production value, they need to be able to get as close to their budget that they want to raise as possible. So if you're interested, check it out. The link is in the description. So naturally, when I hear that they are open to this kind of thing, the Kraven estate, I've been talking about it with those involved with Dylan's New Nightmare and whether anything, because I think Dylan's New Nightmare, my first thought was, it would, from what I know about it and where it could go, I could totally see it being an HBO Max thing. That doesn't mean it's going to be, folks, okay? I'm just saying this off the top of my head. But whatever happens with Freddy Krueger, whether I'm involved or not, whether the crew on Dylan's New Nightmare is involved or not, whether it's Elijah Wood and his team that's involved, whether it's Matt Flanagan that's involved, because of course he made or was it Mike Flanagan? Mike Flanagan, I think it is. He made a post, where he was like, hey, I'm fucking... Which is, they're probably going to go with, the proven track record, right? But whoever it is, whatever ends up happening, my advice is just simply make Freddy scary again. I would do that in Donald Trump's voice, but make Freddy scary again. Okay? Just make him McRae. Okay? But it's true. Make him scary again. That doesn't mean that you can't have him a bit quippy. You know, he's got a couple little things. Okay. But at the end of the day, I want my Freddy scary. So whether it's Dylan's New Nightmare or whether it's, you know, an official major motion picture that has nothing to do with me and Dylan's New Nightmare, or whether it's an HBO MAX series that has nothing to do, whoever gets to play Freddy, whatever ends up happening, just take it back to the roots. Make Freddy scary again. This is a nightmare on Elm Street, not a fluffy dream on Elm Street. So that would be my advice. And do I want to see an HBO Max series? You know, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, do I want to see a Elm Street TV series? I probably would have said no, as a lot of us would have. But because of the era we're in, the streaming era we're in, and not everything is ripe for, you know, TV, right? Not everything is. But Elm Street could be. It could be. There's a lot more time to flesh things out. There's a lot more time to build character development, really grind into the mythology of it. You see, Freddy is not a character that depends on remaining ambiguous, remaining an enigma, okay? It doesn't rely on that. Michael Myers, right? That guy back there? Yeah. Yes. The true core and fundamental foundation of Michael is totally reliant on him remaining ambiguous and in the shadows and not knowing a lot about his backstory and why he's doing what he's doing. And you can't know that shit. With Freddy, not so much. I mean, you don't want to spill everything, right? You want to hold some things close to the vest. But it's not so reliant on that. So you could have a series where you find out a bit more about the backstory, or you find out a bit more about Fred Krueger, and it doesn't ruin the mystique necessarily. It may, depending on how it's done, add to it. And if you were to do a series, you can take and it's a full on, like, it's HBO, so they're not pulling any punches, right? And it's full on, like, balls to the wall. It's scary shit. It's full on scary fucking shit. You got to watch that series and go, wow, like, that was intense. That was scary. That's what it's got to be. It can't just be, well, you know, no. This is where The Sopranos lived. Not on HBO Max, but HBO, right? Like, this has got to be intense. Balls to the wall, pull no punches, full on. And maybe you don't necessarily start with Fred Krueger as a regular guy, but maybe you show that through flashbacks or something. I know they did that in later films, but I just mean, like, you know, you have time to really build a mythology and make him frightening. Just downright, like, Manson-level frightening shit. Do you know what I mean? Not hokey and Roseanne Barr and Tom Arnold shit. Like, I mean, full on, just, you know? So I'm open to that. I'm open to hearing the ideas of an HBO Max series. When it comes to the feature film, this is where it gets a little more interesting, because there's several different endpoints. You can reboot it altogether. You can make a sequel to one of the previous movies. But then it comes down to, if you're going to make a sequel to one of the previous movies, where's your endpoint? Right? What is the sequel that you do? We do know that there seems to be a bit of a trend developing recently, of course, and Halloween began it, whereas Halloween said, okay, you know, we're going to pretend, you know, only the first one exists, and we're going to do a sequel to that one. And it looks like Texas Chainsaw is doing the same thing. Does Elm Street do that? I mean, if they do that, then that means they get rid of the beloved, you know, Dream Warriors. But then again, Halloween 2 from 1981 was very beloved. Maybe not quite as much as Dream Warriors, but still beloved nonetheless. And they, you know, took the risk and said, nope, gone. Maybe you do that and you do a direct sequel to the original only. And in that sense, then you may be able to bring back Heather Langenkamp, because she is alive, you know, as far as we know. Because, of course, obviously her character died at the end of part 3. I'm also open to the idea, and not just because I'm involved with Dylan's New Nightmare, but I am open to the idea, and I understand it's a little too meta and a little too cerebral for some people, but I am open to the idea of exploring New Nightmare more, whether it's through Dylan's New Nightmare, whether it's through just continuing that in a feature film sort of series, because I do think there is a lot of untapped potential in that mythology there. Now, again, I know that for some people it's hard to get behind on a long-term basis because it's Freddy, but it's not really Freddy, but it's not really it's a bit, breaking fourth wall, out of the box, meta kind of shit. And I understand that. But there is a lot of untapped potential. And being just in Hollywood recently for the Voice Arts Awards, and obviously having a chance to go out to dinner with Miko and Vince and Cecil and Nora, and talking about just everything that Cecil wants to do and all the ideas that he has, there really is a lot of there's a lot that could be done. I can't say too much, but there's a lot that could be done. And certainly that same kind of thing could translate to the feature film sort of medium. So, if I was part of the Kraven estate, I would be open to hearing about that. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that would be my first choice, but definitely I would be open to hearing about it, right? And then, of course, we come to Freddy Krueger. And what do you do with Freddy Krueger? And I know that this seems to be the most popular opinion, that there isn't anybody else on the face of the planet right now, currently, or ever again in the history of humankind that could ever play Freddy Krueger and do justice to the character of Freddy Krueger. Nobody else ever, zilch, zero, nada, other than Robert Englund himself. I understand that position. I get it in principle. I do. I don't agree with it. And I'm in good company there because I believe Robert Englund doesn't agree with that either. Because we're not talking about doing a Robert Englund impression. And I understand that Jackie Earle Haley, some people like it, others don't. But that was a swing and a miss. But just because you have a swing and a miss doesn't mean every swing is going to be a miss. You don't get up to the plate and swing once and miss and then go and sit back down, right? It's essentially 3 strikes. So they tried it in 2010, I believe. Didn't work. Some people like Jackie Earle Haley. Some people didn't. But I believe, like the way I'm approaching, for example, Freddy Krueger in Dylan's New Nightmare, and I give it air quotes because it's part of the New Nightmare mythology. So technically it's not Freddy Krueger, it's the entity that became Freddy Krueger, if you know what I mean, if you know your New Nightmare history. But nonetheless, the way I'm approaching the character, and I've discussed this with Cecil and Vince and Miko, is my job is not to walk in and do a Robert Englund impression, right? Because you're just setting yourself up to fail. My job is to take what Robert's done, pay attention to what he's done, build on the essence of what he's done, so that when you watch Dylan's New Nightmare, you can look at my performance and look at me and go, I believe that's Freddy Krueger. I believe that. It might not be Robert Englund, but I totally believe that's Freddy. And if I can deliver on that, then it's successful. Right? And that's the most important thing. There are amazing, talented actors in this world who absolutely can do justice to Freddy Krueger. 100%. I mean, let's not forget, there were people that said that nobody could play the Joker again like Heath Ledger, and in walks Joaquin Phoenix. Now, again, that's a bit different because obviously one is a comic book film and one is more of a psychological thriller at the end of the day. They're very different films. But at the end of the day, right? There are actors in this world that can honor Robert Englund and do justice to the character where you leave the theater going, it wasn't Robert, but that was pretty good. I'm okay. I'm on board with this. And if you don't think that's possible, well, with all due respect, you're just incredibly naive because there have been profound, not profound, but a plethora of examples of this throughout history. And there will continue to be. I mean, listen, Harrison Ford is my Indiana Jones. He will always be my Indiana Jones. but there is somebody out there that can do justice to the character, and that's what we're talking about. So but hypothetically now, if Robert were to come back, well, he says he only has one left in him. The chances of Robert Englund sitting in a chair full of, doing this over and over again for a new series, like the longevity of that is highly unlikely. So just keep in mind, you Robert Englund fans who want nothing but him back, okay, but then what? Do you want just a one and done? A one-off with him and Heather? Okay, but then what? What then if it's hugely successful, but he's like, no, I'm out. And then they have to recast. How are you going to feel about that? We have to keep those things in mind, that Robert's time as Freddy may be over. And that's not a bad thing. You just have to do justice to the character, find the right person who understands that, who is willing to work hard and bring the essence of Freddy there, so that when you look at Freddy, you go, that's Freddy. Whether that's me in Dylan's New Nightmare or somebody else. It doesn't matter who it is. That, I believe, is the game plan at the end of the day. So if it were me, when it comes to feature films, I think the best thing to do would either to reboot it, but making it dark and scary and grounded and low budget. And when I say low budget, I don't mean no budget, like a $5-10 million picture, and really just kind of bring it back to its roots, really gritty and fucking scary. Or why the hell not? You're in the era of nostalgia. Just make a sequel to the original and pretend the other ones didn't happen, or make a sequel to 3 and pretend, at this point in the game, why not? But that's sort of my feeling on it anyway, is how I feel about it right now. Ask me again in another week when more information comes out or something, and I might feel a bit differently. MFSA, make Freddy scary again. And I can tell you, with what some ideas they have, I can't tell you the ideas, but what I know about Dylan's New Nightmare. Now, keep in mind, of course, that it technically isn't Freddy. It's that entity that has taken on Freddy. But I can tell you, the Freddy Krueger that I will be playing is scary. They're just, the meetings we were having, I was like, woo-wee! And just the makeup and shit they're going to put on my face, and the ideas that Nora and Cecil and Vince were talking about. I was just sitting there, watching them go back and forth, and I would, give my input where I thought was appropriate. And I was like, oh, yeah, fucking do it! I'm excited. So, hey, if you want to know more about it, the Indiegogo campaign is in the description. And whatever happens, make Freddy scary again. My name's Dave McRae. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. What do you want to see from a Nightmare on Elm Street? Let me know. I would love to know. Hey, if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's been a while since I've done this. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. That's where I tend to post in the meantime and in between time, and I'm not posting here. All my links are in the description, as well as links to my Patreon, my merch store, my IMDb, my Twitter, my official website, my Instagram, Dylan's New Nightmare. It's all down there. Check them out until your heart's content. So, that'll do it for me. In the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. Cheers.